Welcome back. My name is Ramón Crum, and I'm here to continue to guide you through the real estate book. Now, today we have an exciting topic to talk about. We're going to talk about foreclosures. Now, I know most real estate agents probably got into real estate, I would hope, because later on they're thinking about investment properties and creating wealth for themselves. Because remember, we don't have a retirement plan, right? So you want to make sure that you are preparing for your future as a real estate professional. So the great thing is that on this channel, not only are we going to bring you through the real estate book, but we're also going to talk about financial independence and how to invest money. So today we're going to talk about foreclosures, and what we're going to discuss is there's 4 different types of foreclosures. Now, the reason why there's 4 different types of foreclosures is because each foreclosure represents the process that they're in. So we're going to start at the beginning in chronological order so that it's easy for you to follow along. All right, so let's begin. All right, so now let's get into the pre-foreclosure. So you're 90 days behind on your mortgage as a homeowner. So that's why we call it a pre-foreclosure, which is the 90 days default on your mortgage. So you, for whatever reason, financial hardship, health, whatever the case is, you have not been able to make the payments on your mortgage to the bank. So now you're in a stage of pre-foreclosure. During this stage, you're going to get bombarded by the call center that's calling you. A lot of times though, what you want to do is see if you can talk to a supervisor or somebody else that can maybe help you to rectify your situation. Maybe put your past due balance in arrears. So someone that's in this scenario has 2 options. One, they can get what is called a loan modification. A loan modification is when you're able to, let's say you took a loan out for $1 million and that payment is $4,500 a month. So now you go back to the bank, you say, you know what, my job was reduced, or maybe you lost the job and had to get a new job, but the new job is not paying you the same income. So you're gonna submit a hardship letter, you're gonna submit your tax returns, and what you're going to do is prove to them that you, even though you can't afford a $4,500 payment, you are able to at least pay $3,000, right? And by having that $1,500 discount, so to speak, of your mortgage, you're able to stay in your property. So a lot of times banks will reduce the interest rate on your loan. So let's say your interest rate was at like 5%. They will reduce your interest rate in order to bring down the payment, or they can go ahead and reduce your balance if your property is not worth what it was when you purchased it. So a lot of people bought in a peak of the market of 2016, and then they started, in 2006, people purchased their property in a peak of the market in 2006, and then the property started to decline, right? 2007, 2008, 2009. So a lot of homeowners, they went back to the lender and said, hey, my property is not worth what I paid for it. Is there a way that you can approve me for a loan modification? And the bank will approve you, but you still have to prove that you can make the payment, right? The bank will deny you if you don't have any income. They will rather just go ahead and foreclose on you because they know that they're just prolonging it by allowing to give you a loan modification, all right? The second option that you will have is called a deed in lieu of. Now, I know this is gonna sound weird from the beginning, all right? But a deed in lieu of is considered a friendly foreclosure. Now, I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but a friendly foreclosure because your credit score will actually increase. Why? Because here's a scenario where you are behind on your payments, the bank, the lender, the customer service department is calling you consistently, right? You're not getting no sleep. And you just say, you know what? I'm willing to move out of the property. I will hand you back the deed to the house, condo, right? What do I need to do? I don't want you to foreclose on me. I don't want to ruin my credit. And the bank says, you know what? Okay, fine. We will go ahead and take the property back from you. Now, when they approve that deed in lieu of, the reason why it's a benefit for the bank is because now they don't have to spend money on lawyers and attorneys trying to evict you out of the property, which we all know that process can be pretty lengthy. So the benefit to you is that you hand back the deed, they wipe the debt that you owe on that loan off of your credit file. And that's how your credit score will increase. Deed in lieu of, okay? Now, let's talk about short sale. So a short sale, like I said earlier, is where you borrowed $1 million from the bank, but yet you found an investor or somebody else to purchase your property, but they were only willing to pay what the market value was. And at the time, the market value was $850,000. So you have a $150,000 difference, which is also called a deficiency judgment if the bank wants to come after you for that, right? Because you still owe them that $150,000, so they can place a deficiency judgment. But the good news is most states will have laws in place for the banks not to come after you. Because it's obvious, right? If you weren't able to afford your mortgage, how you have like $150,000 stashed in your mattress, right? So most states have laws in place to protect homeowners against a deficiency judgment. But a short sale is where I have a client, they're behind on their payments, they give me a call, they know that I'm in foreclosures, and they say, hey, Ramon, can you find an investor to purchase my property? I don't want to ruin my credit. And I say, no problem. And I reach out to cash buyers and investors, and they say, okay, great. Give me some comps on the property. Comps, real estate jargon for comparables, comparable properties. So if the property is a 3-bedroom, they want other 3 bedrooms that's within a half a mile to a mile radius, right? Sharing the same zip code in order to make sure that they're not overpaying for the property, if that makes sense, okay? So that's a short sale. Then the third one, right, is a trustee sale. So a trustee sale is an auction, right? And like I said, all across the country, all the different county courthouses will have a trustee sale. Again, an auction of real estate assets. So here's where, let's say the homeowner had a loan from Bank of America. They used Bank of America, and let's say they borrowed $1 million, right? But they purchased the property in like 2004. And remember, I said the peak of the market was 2006. So the equity in the property starts to increase. They're getting all these letters in their mailbox. And then they decide that they want to go ahead and take some of that equity out of the property. So another lender, let's say Chase, says, we will go ahead and give you $100,000, right? On top of the $1 million that you borrowed from Chase. So now they have 2 loans. They have a $1 million loan from Bank of America. They have a $100,000 loan from Chase. Their property is continuing to increase, right? 2004, 2005, 2006. They have like $300,000 in equity. So now they get another loan on that property. Let's say this is from Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo says, okay, we're gonna approve you for $150,000. So Bank of America, $1 million, Chase, $100,000, Wells Fargo, $150,000. But when that property goes to an auction, and I can explain to you typically the best case scenario of a property going to a trustee sale or to an auction, it's going to be because you have 3 loans from different lenders. Now, if all of these loans were from the same lender, right, obviously the lender will work with itself to work it out. But because they're different, it's their competitors, so to speak, right, they're not trying to work anything out. So what do I mean by work anything out? Well, remember, the homeowner can't afford their mortgage payments, but they borrowed $100,000 from Chase and $150,000 from Wells Fargo. Now, Bank of America is okay because they're in a first position, so they know that when this property goes to auction, they're still going to be on the deed. But the other 2 that's in the second position, Bank of America and Wells Fargo, which is in a third position, they're going to automatically drop off after that sale. So in that case, we as real estate professionals and attorneys also use this tactic. We would then present an offer to them, but it's going to be like 10%, maybe 20% of what was loaned to the homeowner. So if the lenders, if Chase and Wells Fargo decides no on that and they reject the offer, then that's how the property would end up at the trustee auction, okay? But keep in mind, for those of you that's thinking about, oh, well, I can just go to the trustee auction and I can purchase the property myself. Well, don't forget, who did I say was in the first position? Bank of America. Do you have more money than Bank of America? Well, if you do, then I wish you the best of luck, and make sure you let me know about it in the comments, okay? Now, on to the last and final stage, which is bank-owned properties. So remember earlier, I talked about a trustee sale, and I gave you a scenario where the homeowner had a purchase loan from Bank of America, then they took out a home equity loan, we call it a HELOC, from Chase, and then another HELOC for $150,000 from Wells Fargo. And remember I said that if I'm not able to get them all to accept a lot less, obviously except for Bank of America because they're in a dominant position, they're in the first position, then it's going to go to a trustee sale. So after that trustee sale, the only lender that's going to be left on the title and deed is going, on the title is going to be Bank of America. So now you can get a decision when you place an offer within 3 days, as opposed to in a short sale stage, right? Because we got to negotiate with the bank to accept less money and then negotiate with another lender to accept less money, it could take 3 to 6 months, right? So that's the difference, and that's the reason why at bank-owned properties, at their open house, you're going to have 200 people rolling through. Intense competition. Why? Because of the fact that everybody knows that this property is much easier to attain because they don't have to wait as long. But if you're patient and you're willing to take the risk, then yeah, you can go for the short sale. But most people don't want to wait 3 to 6 months for a no. All right. So now let's get into the last stage of a foreclosure, which is the bank owned. So here's where the open houses will have over 250 potential investors or buyers at the open house, because here's the major difference. The major difference between a short sale and a bank-owned property is the processing time and waiting to get an answer back from the lender. So, for example, with a short sale, remember earlier I discussed that a homeowner can have several lenders. Well, it's going to take time to negotiate between the different lenders, and that can be between 3 to 6 months. A lot of times people don't want to wait for that, especially if you're a family, you're not an investor, you don't have the time, you want to get into a property before school year, or whatever your life situation is. Maybe you moved out of state and you're about to begin a new job or a new career. You don't have that type of time. So most people will go ahead and look for a bank-owned property because you can get a decision back within 3 business days. So that's a huge difference. Short sale, 3 to 6 months. Bank-owned property, 3 business days, right? So now you can see why when you attend a bank-owned property, there's at least 250 potential buyers that's there, right? So the other thing about bank-owned properties that I want to also discuss, and I'll try to come back to it a little bit more, is that if you're looking to purchase a bank-owned property, there's several options. Obviously, you can go online. You can go into the bank's websites. A lot of times the banks will have bank-owned properties listed on their websites. But I would say the safest way is probably to just reach out to a real estate broker. I know when I sold property for the banks, we have very, very stringent detailed instructions from the lender on how to care for the property to make sure that it's a safe property. A lot of times when you try to do it on your own, especially if you don't have that experience and you don't know what to look for, you want to have a licensed agent to guide you through the process, okay? So one of the other things I want to do is just go over everything that we discussed today. So let's head over to the board so that I can make sure that you understand the main points of foreclosures. Now we're at our board, so you know what that means. We're going to now summarize everything that we discussed earlier. And I'm also going to take this as an opportunity to go a little bit more in depth in discussing the different stages of foreclosures. So as you can recall, we talked about foreclosures are 4 different steps: 90 days, default, short sale, trustee sale, and bank-owned property. And remember, I said that each one of these stages are in chronological order. So a homeowner is going to start off by being behind on their mortgage payments by 90 days, okay? This stage here is a pre-foreclosure, right? Pre-foreclosure. Then the second stage is going to be a short sale. Now, in order to get a short sale approved, you're going to need your homeowner or the client that you're working with, whether it's a client, a family, or a friend of yours, or it could be yourself, you will need to submit a hardship letter. That hardship letter can be something that was either financial hardship, it could be a medical hardship, it could be a death, right? Because some people live in households where the breadwinner is one person. That person perished, now you're not able to afford your mortgage payments. So, hardship letter explaining how you got in the position that you got into, which is being behind on your mortgage by 90 days. Then the next thing you're gonna need to submit is what is called a payoff request. And basically what that is you're sending information to the bank, or you probably can call them or go on their website, and it's a request to find out exactly what is your balance, what is your loan balance, how much do you owe the lenders, because that's going to be very important when the lender makes a decision as to how much money or how less money, right, they're willing to accept. They need to know what are your outstanding debts with the other lenders. So you're going to request what is called a payoff request. Of course, you're going to need tax returns, right? They need to make sure that verifiable documentation to know what your income is, right? To see, okay, well, if this person was making $200,000 and my mortgage payment is $2,000, we have a problem up in here, right? And then the last thing would be a HUD-1. So HUD-1 is really, really technical, but basically I'll give you just a synopsis of what it is. And that's an itemized, detailed description of each and every expense. So as you can see, HUD-1, for those of you who already started taking your real estate classes, you know that HUD stands for Housing of Urban Development. So this is a federal form. This goes to the federal government. Of course, you know the federal government keeps all types of stats and everything like that. So this form is going to detail what's owed, taxes, commissions, if there were repairs on the property. All that is taken into consideration, and all that has to be indicated on the HUD-1. Okay, so these are the items that's needed in order for your short sale to be approved. And of course, if you have any additional questions, you can list those in the comments for me. Now, the next stage after that is going to be a trustee sale, an auction. Now, I want to give you some tips as to going to an auction. So remember, earlier I discussed that you have to be careful. As always, I always advise anyone who does not have experience in dealing with properties that are foreclosed or properties that have tax liens on them. I always encourage people to make sure that they have a professional to guide them through the process. But if you're a contractor, you have your own construction company, you already have your own crew, then it's fine. You have enough knowledge to know what you're getting yourself into, okay? So with the trustee sale, remember, this is an auction, and remember I said that you can have 3 lenders, right? If you guys can recall, right? My analogy was Bank of America, and then I think we said Chase, and then I think we said Wells Fargo, right? So after the trustee sale, these lenders automatically drop off. They automatically drop off. So that's the reason why it's called bank owned, okay? Because only Bank of America, right, now owns the property. So remember, up here, you have to submit all this documentation. All these lenders exist. So that's why I said this could take 3 to 6 months, right? 3 to 6 months for completion. Here, 3 business days, right? Only 3. So that's the reason why, like I said, at the open house, you'll have 250 plus potential buyers that's gonna show up, all right? So what should you look out for in attending a trustee sale? Most people don't have experience. Most investors will go ahead because they have the sophistication, they have the knowledge to know what to look for at the auction. Well, let me give you some pointers just to protect yourself. The first thing you want to do is find out what is required, right? You need to get in contact with the trustee, the auctioneer, whoever is presiding over that particular auction. There's all different types of auctions. You have state auctions, you have county auctions, you have city auctions, you got private auctions. There's a list of auctions. You can go onto Zillow.com. They even have a website, a relationship with auction.com. Sometimes you go on there and you'll see that they advertise auction properties. So you need to know what is required, right? You need to know the documentation, right? The next thing you need is to get a copy of the contract or purchase agreement. Now, why that's important is because you want to take that to your attorney, right, to look over it. You want to make sure that you're not signing away your firstborn or somebody away, right? So it's super important to know what type of contract you're getting yourself into. Extremely vital. The next thing is that earnest money deposit. Most auctions typically require a 10% of the purchase price. So if you're purchasing a property for $500,000, right, 10% of $500,000 is $50,000. Okay, so that's the check, that's the money that you need to have on hand. And typically they want to have this, no personal checks, it need to be a cashier's check, right? Or some of you may know this as a bank check, right? But no personal checks whatsoever, okay? And then the last thing is you need to be prepared to close within 30 days. I know that some transactions take a lot longer, but when you're dealing with the auctions, they want to have this off of their books as quick as possible. So some people believe that you can only go to auctions with cash. That's not true. If you have a lender that you know that can close within those 30 days, well, now all you need is just a 10%, right, as a deposit. Once you win the bid, that's the only time you have to worry about separating yourself with this check, is because you won the bid. So in order to seal the deal, you have to give them the 10%, and then you have 30 days to close. So it is possible. There are some lenders, you can Google different lenders, look up Yelp, look up the Google reviews, just to find out if the lenders are able to close the loan within those 30 days. If not, a lot of times they may penalize you, okay? So again, thank you guys for joining us. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. That's the best way that you can to support this channel. We want to make sure that everybody is able to get this information. So I thank you. Until next time, good luck in your real estate endeavors.